Hello everyone and welcome to Harry's Movie Channel. So, the new James Bond film No Time to Die has been out for a good couple of months now. So, as a massive fan of the franchise, I decided I would do a James Bond tier list ranking. Now, the main reason I've decided to do this is because it's something I've noticed a lot on not just movie-based YouTube channels, but YouTube as a whole. I mean, there are tier list rankings on this website called Tiermaker for just about everything, really. And this video was originally going to be a normal sort of movie ranking where I would start from the very bottom, work the way up, but there's 26 films to look at here, or 25 actually, because No Time to Die is not on this tier list. But yeah, 25 films in a ranking video like that would take forever. So instead I'm going to do a tier list ranking. So yeah, without further ado, let's begin. Right, so here is the tier list. As I said earlier, No Time to Die isn't on it, so I'll tell you guys where I would have put it at the end. So yeah, we're going to start off with Doctor No, of course, the very first film in the franchise. I mean, I don't think it's one of the best. I think it is a bit, when you look at it in retrospect, it is a bit bland, I feel, but considering its impact on the franchise as a whole, you gotta respect it for that. So I'll put it in the good category, because I think from an entertainment level it's not amazing, but it had a big influence on the franchise for obvious reasons. So yeah, then From Russia with Love. A lot of people consider this to be one of the best. I've heard some people say it is the very best in the franchise. I'm someone who tends to like more action-packed Bond movies, as you'll see as I add more films to this tier list. So yeah, I would say it's probably on the level with Doctor No. Good film. I think it probably is slightly better than Doctor No. But yeah, I kind of see both of them as quite similar. Next up, we've got Goldfinger, probably the most iconic film of the franchise, and it's going straight up to the top there because, you know, it introduced so many things that people know about the franchise now, like, of course, the Aston Martin, the gadgets, you know, stuff like that. It made its mark in cinema, really. So next up, Thunderball. This is probably going to be one of my controversial choices here, but I'm a massive fan of Thunderball, if I'm honest. I mean, Sean Connery, as always, is fantastic. The problem, though, is I just find, because a lot of the action is underwater, everything kind of, it feels like they slowed down to like half speed or something. It's just, in my opinion, quite boring. So I'm going to put it in bad. I'm just not a fan. Next up, You Only Live Twice. I think You Only Live Twice is great, really, to be honest. I mean, the volcano lair, it has it all. Oh yeah, here's the unofficial Casino Royale spoof film. I don't know where to start. I'm going to sum it up in this sentence. It is one of the worst films I've ever seen, so it's going in the shit category, because, in fact, even putting it in the shit, even just calling it shit is generous, to be honest with you. So next up we have On Her Majesty's Secret Service. Now, I kind of view On Her Majesty's Secret Service as kind of the odd one out in certainly kind of the early years of the Bond franchise, because it was George Lazenby's one and only appearance as Bond. And I always find it a bit hard to talk about George Lazenby's Bond, because yeah, he's definitely not as good as Connery, Roger Moore, the rest. But he never had any acting experience prior to being cast, so can't really expect much, I suppose. However, despite the rather controversial casting choice of somebody without any acting experience in the role, I do think On Her Majesty's Secret Service is a great Bond film. So I'm going to put it in the great category. Yeah, just I think the scale of it, because it was quite a big scale film for its time, and it was certainly bigger than the ones that came before it, with this massive like mountain hut at the top and all these great ski sequences. Of course, Diana Rigg in the film as well, and the ending of On Her Majesty's Secret Service is heartbreaking. It really is. So yeah, that's where I put that. And then Diamonds Are Forever. Now, yeah, it's cool to see Connery back, but the film's just a bit odd to me. I just view it as a bit of a weird oddity of a film. So it has its moments, but I'm going to put it in the meh category, I would say. It's just not, I'm just not a fan, to be honest. Now, Live and Let Die, of course, we're into the Roger Moore era now. yeah, I love Live and Let Die. There's just so many great moments. I love the sequence with the bus. Um, Yaphet Kotto plays the main villain in the film, and he's fantastic. Yeah, and I know I love Roger Moore's Bond, so I'm going to put. I think Live and Let Die is a really great Bond film. I'm putting it in the top tier. Then The Man with the Golden Gun, a bit of an odd one, but I actually quite like it, so I'm going to put it in the good category. Yeah, I mean, there are some stupid moments like the slide whistle jump, like where this car does this incredible stunt, and then there's some stupid sound effect over it. But yeah, I guess the entire film is that scene is kind of the entire film in a nutshell, really. But I still like it. I think it's a good movie. And then The Spy Who Loved Me, the best of the Roger Moore era, I would say. So that's going up to the top as well. Now here's another controversial one. Moonraker, a film which a lot of people definitely like to moan about because it's James Bond in space, and it's obviously just cash grabbing in on the popularity of Star Wars, because Moonraker came out, I think it was only 2 years after the original Star Wars film, and you know, it shows that they were really trying to cash grab with all this space kind of stuff. But I have fond memories of watching Moonraker on the telly when I was younger, so for nostalgia reasons, I'm gonna put it in the top. I don't care. I have a blast with that film. Then For Your Eyes Only. Now, it certainly has great action scenes like the ski chase, the car chase with the Citroen. But the problem is, I feel for a Roger Moore Bond film, it's a bit too serious, because I kind of see Roger Moore's Bond as quite. I kind of see his era as just generally having a good time. The films, they may be a bit absurd, but they're fun. Whereas For Your Eyes Only is a bit too serious, and it just doesn't feel right for me. So I'm going to put it in the good category. I do like it, but it's not. I think it's probably the weakest of the Roger Moore films. Then we've got Octopussy, which is interesting. It's a fun movie. I'm going to put it in the great category. I'll have a blast with it. Such as that sequence with that little jet at the very beginning. Has nothing to do with the actual story of the film, but it's a ton of fun. Oh yeah, back to the unofficial Bond films. This is the last one. They thankfully only made 2 of them. Never Say Never Again. Now, the reason behind Never Say Never Again's existence probably requires a whole other YouTube video to talk about it, to be honest. But it's basically due to some legal thing going on. Somebody else outside of the Bond producers owned the rights to Thunderball, and so he produced an unofficial remake, which is what Never Say Never Again is, and Sean Connery came back for it, and it's an absolute tragedy of a film, so it's terrible. I'm putting it in the shit category, because it really is appalling. Then we've got A View to a Kill, Roger Moore's final Bond film. Yeah, he is noticeably too old, I think, to play the role, because he was like 57, I think, at the time, and it shows when you watch it, because he's not quite as active. He's not doing all these sort of insane stunts that James Bond is known to do, and A View to a Kill doesn't have it, and I think that it shows. It's just a bit awkward, really. And any diehard Bond fan watching this will know what I mean. I still like it, though. It's got some good moments. I'll put it in the good category. Next up, we have got The Living Daylights, of course, into Timothy Dalton now, with the... Well, sadly only did 2 films. I thought it was a really good Bond, actually. I'm going to put Living Daylights in the great category. I think that obviously, for those of you that don't know, Pierce Brosnan was originally supposed to have the role after Roger Moore left, but he was working on a TV show called Remington Steele, and as a result, his contract, I think, was extended, and he couldn't play Bond, and a lot of people at the time were really disappointed about that. And I think that kind of had an impact on how well the film did at the time, and I think even to this day I kind of see it as a bit of an underrated Bond movie, but it's a really good one. It's got some great moments in there. And then probably the most different Bond film, and what I mean by that is one that kind of changes things the most, License to Kill. Of course, Bond, spoiler alert by the way, Bond doesn't actually go on a mission on this film. Basically, his friend is attacked by a shark by the villain, or he's sort of fed to sharks by the villain, and he goes on revenge. So it's a very unusual film, and you can tell that it's just the style of filmmaking is very reminiscent of popular action movies at the time, like Die Hard, Lethal Weapon, stuff like that. because it was kind of the late 1980s, and that was kind of a big trend back then. But I do believe License to Kill is... I want to put it in the masterpiece, but I think... I'll put it in the great category. I think it's almost as good to be in the masterpiece section, but only my very favourites, I would say, go up there. Then we've got GoldenEye. It's my favourite in the franchise. Enough said. It's going in the masterpiece category. Tomorrow Never Dies. For those of you that don't know, by the way, I do have a good time with the Pierce Brosnan era. And Tomorrow Never Dies is just a great guilty pleasure for me, so I'm going to put it in the great category. The World Is Not Enough. I think it's a great Bond film as well, like on level with Tomorrow Never Dies, although I think it is actually probably the most underrated in the franchise. I just like how different it is, really. It kind of isn't just the same stuff. It does lots of different things, like, you know, Bond falling in love with the main villain and basically falling for her. That's a very interesting idea. And it's a shame that people didn't really kind of buy it at the time, and probably still don't to this day. So yeah, Die Another Day next up. I mean, I think objectively it is probably the worst Bond film ever made. And yeah, it's a bad film. Although it's kind of the way I see it is it's kind of one of those so bad it's good sort of so bad it's good type film. So I'm not going to put it in the shit category, but I'll put it in bad because I enjoy it. But just because I like laughing at it because it's such a bad film, so I'm going to put it in the bad category because it's not good at all. But yeah, and then obviously we're into the Craig era now. Casino Royale, absolutely fantastic movie. It's going in the top. Quantum of Solace, I'm not. That film I think is probably the most disappointing in the series, just because it comes after Casino Royale, which is such a great film. Like it's a direct follow-up to it. It picks up immediately from where that film ended, and it just... They tried to do this Jason Bourne kind of shaky cam, rapid editing style, and it just doesn't really work in a Bond movie. And it's kind of... I mean, obviously there was a writer's strike going on when it was made, but it's kind of just... It's a bit of a mess, really. Like, obviously, because of this writer's strike... they had to rush the script to get ready, and I think Daniel Craig was having to write parts of it at some point, and it shows when you watch it, so yeah, pretty bad. Skyfall, excellent. You know, what can I say about Skyfall? Then Spectre, which I think it's the most bog standard average Bond film there is. And obviously there's No Time to Die, which isn't on this tier list, but I think I'd probably put it in the good category, but without spoiling the film, there are some things in it which I'm still trying to process, so I'm just kind of putting it in the good category to keep things simple, really, because I think I'd have to watch it again before I can probably make my mind up on it. So yeah, that's my tier list of the Bond movies. So that was my James Bond movie tier list ranking. Yeah, as I said earlier, I'm a massive fan of this franchise. It is my favourite movie franchise of all time. So yeah, hope you guys enjoyed the video. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye for now.